Hello, Emma. This is me, Chivalry for All, also known as Shiv on MySpace. Congratulations, Emma, on finally becoming more aware, or at least have been aware, of the things around you. Uh, I would just like to respond to your question of why these things are happening to you and why you may seem to think that there is a malfunction with the human mind. Well, for first things, uh, we human beings are raised into a society which is inherently corrupt or malfunctioning. And so this has an effect on us and makes us seem like we're all somewhat messed up in a way, when really it's society itself. For example, uh, people before, back in the old days, were taught how to think. If you recall, in the Great Depression, there was a lot of interesting ways people would save money. For example, you look at bicycle inner tubes, you will see that they would cut the inner tubes up and they would wrap them and tie them up, and they would be serving as useful rubber bands because they had troubles even paying for rubber bands. They found many different ways of repairing things and using things that we would normally today discard and fix them up and use them for something else. Today, in today's society, we are taught to do things. We are taught what to do. And a good example is like in school for me, when I was in high school, we did shadow boxes in high school where we would cut out a hole in the shoebox, and after we were done reading we would post little pictures in there and put up little props that were in the book itself. And we were told exactly what to do and we'd have to follow the steps. We weren't really being that creative except for in art. And so we really, as a society, have pushed more towards telling people what to do. So when you go into a job place and you see someone standing in the corner and they don't know what to do, even though they're in the kitchen or in a restaurant and everything's dirty, they don't know what to do because they're expecting someone to tell them what to do. So there's a difference with that. Another thing that you have to factor in is that when two entities collide on the same path in a Western world, it's a lot different than, to say, in the Middle East, where the culture is astronomically different. The female is completely below the male, and she has to move way out of the way. Whereas in the Western world, you open doors for ladies, and there's a lot more respect for women. And so you have to factor in that the culture itself is what's also impacting and why you're having this experience with bumping into other guys and they're just standing there. Now, most human beings, like I said earlier, are fine. It's just they're programmed to fail, essentially. There's a lot of distractions in life with entertainment and with all these new gadgets that are built, and even computers in itself, even though they can be very beneficial. But people nowadays, and even somewhat back then, ignored what their bodies would tell them. Like in construction, if your arm hurts, you're supposed to stop. That's your body naturally telling you you are hurt. If you keep on, you'll make yourself worse. But people push on anyways, for whatever means it is, whether they're working to get a new couch, or if they're trying to make a better quality of life for their children, which is very humble and very noble of them. But in a sense, we don't even listen to our own body signals. And that is because, again, there's distractions. People are obsessed with materials, and they want to feel better, or they feel they are better than other people. So they have to push themselves more so they can keep on climbing. So society is essentially set up to make us all fail, in a way. And so that's what I think that you might be a little bit confused about. So why is it Western culture we bump into people like that and we have these little glitches or whatever? And yeah, it happens around the world occasionally, but I would say a lot more in Western culture. Well, for one, a guy, when he's bumping into a girl, or he's trying to get out of her pathway, and he happens to stop, it's because, first off, when you bump into somebody or you're on the same pathway and you can't get around because there's people around you, the guy is supposed to let the girl go first. That's the mentality of it. And he also might be a little bit nervous because of a woman's good looks. And to be honest, you're not a bad-looking girl. You're actually a very good-looking girl. And I imagine he would probably be somewhat intimidated at first, especially if he's shy. And if he's outgoing like me, then that might not be the case. He might even strike up a conversation with you. But not all guys are like that. Now, for a girl, she might realize a male's physical superiority because, let's face it, males tend to be, well, they are a lot stronger because their skeletal structure is designed to have a lot of a bigger load to lift, whereas a woman's designed to carry a baby. So there is a physical difference. And she also might be somewhat nervous because of his looks, or might be intimidated because he seems to be someone who might be harmful to her. And another factor you got to realize is it could also be the fact that he's trying to be kind and let you go past him. Or it could be the same thing done with you. And it sounds like that. So he's not necessarily a moron, and I really don't think you should be saying something like that about a complete stranger, because he could just be simply being nice and letting you go first, So there's a lot of different variables involved here. But what it really comes down to is how society has programmed human beings, and we've been basically following whoever set up society in the first place early on. And even though there's a lot of smart people trying to fix it, there's a lot of dumb people who just go along with it, and that's why we're kind of caught in the situation we're at, where some of us are a lot further ahead than others. And that is basically because of society and its faults. So that's probably why you're having the problems, and I hope I answered all your questions, and hopefully you'll have a better understanding of why you're experiencing this kind of stuff.